It's time I left this place.
I can't keep up. You walk at such a pace.
Don't trouble, child. No need to show me out. It's not your manners I'm concerned about.
We merely pay you the respect we owe. But, Mother, why this hurry? Must you go?
I must. This house appalls me. No one in it will pay attention for a single minute. Children, I take my leave, much vexed in spirit. I offer good advice, but you won't hear it. You all break in and chatter on and on. It's like a madhouse with the keeper gone. Girl, you talk too much. And I'm afraid that you're too saucy for a lady's maid. You push in everywhere and have your say.
But...
You, boy, grow more foolish every day. To think my grandson should be such a dunce. I've said 100 times, if I've said it once, if you keep on this course on which you've started, you'll leave your pious father broken-hearted.
I think...
And you, his sister, seem so pure, so innocent, so shy, and so demure. But you know what they say about still waters? I pity parents with secretive daughters.
Now, Mother?
As for you, child, let me add that your behavior is extremely bad, and a poor example for these children, too. Their dear dead mother did far better than you. You're much too free with money, and I'm distressed to see you so elaborately dressed when it's one's husband that one aims to please. One has no need for costly fripperies.
Oh, madam, really?
You are her brother, sir, and I respect and love you. Yet, if I were my son, this lady's good and pious spouse, I wouldn't make you welcome in my house. You're full of worldly counsels, which I fear aren't suitable for decent folk to hear. I've spoken bluntly, sir, but it behooves us not to mince words when righteous fervor moves us.
Your man Tartuffe is full of holy speeches.
And practices precisely what he preaches. He's a fine man and should be listened to. I will not hear him mocked by fools like you.
Oh, good God, you expect me to submit to the tyranny of that carping hypocrite? Must we forgo all joys and satisfactions because that bigot censures all our actions?
Hear him talk, and he talks all the time. There's nothing one can do that's not a crime. He rails at everything, your dear Tartuffe.
Whatever he reproves deserves reproof. He's out to save your souls, and all of you must love him as my son would have you do.
Ah, no, grandmother, I could never take to such a rascal, even for my father's sake. That's how I feel, and I shall not dissemble. His every action makes me seethe and tremble with helpless anger. And I have no doubt that he and I will shortly have it out.
Surely it is a shame and a disgrace to see this man usurp the master's place, to see this beggar, who when first he came had not a shoe or shoestring to his name, so far forget himself that he behaves as if the house were his and we his slaves.
Well, mark my words. Your souls would fare far better if you'd observe his precepts to the letter.
You see him as a saint. I'm far less awed. In fact, I see right through him. He's a fraud.
Nonsense.
His man Laurent's the same. Or worse, I'd not trust either with a penny purse.
I can't say what his servant's morals may be. His own great goodness I can guarantee. You all regard him with distaste and fear because he tells you what you're loath to hear, condemns your sins, points out your moral flaws, and humbly strives to further heaven's cause.
If sin is all that bothers him, why is it he's so upset when folk drop in to visit? Is heaven so outraged at a social call that he must prophesy against us all? I'll tell you what I think. If you ask me, he's jealous of my mistress' company.
Nonsense. He's not alone, child, in complaining of all your promiscuous entertaining. Why, the whole neighborhood's upset. I know. With all these carriages that come and go, and crowds of guests parading in and out, and noisy servants loitering about. In all of this, I'm sure there's nothing vicious. But why give people cause to be suspicious?
They need no cause. They'll talk in any case. Madam, this world would be a joyless place if, fearing what malicious tongues might say, we locked our doors and turned our friends away. And even if one did so dreary a thing, do you think those tongues would cease their chattering?
One can't fight slander. It's a losing battle. Let us instead ignore their tittle-tattle. Let's strive to live by conscience, clear decrees, and let the gossips gossip as they please.
If there is talk against us, I know the source. It's Daphne and her little husband, of course. Those who have greatest cause for guilt and shame are quickest to besmirch a neighbor's name, hoping that others' innocent affairs will lend a hue of innocence to theirs, or that their own black guilt will come to seem part of a general shady color scheme.
All that is quite irrelevant. I doubt there's anyone more virtuous and devout than dear Aunt. And I'm informed that she condemns your mode of life most vehemently.
Oh, yes, she's strict, devout, and has no taint of worldliness. In short, she seems a saint. But it was time which taught her that disguise. She's thus because she can't be otherwise. So long as her attractions could enthrall, she flounced and flirted and enjoyed it all. But now that they're no longer what they were, she quits a world which fast is quitting her, and wears a veil of virtue to conceal her bankrupt beauty and her lost appeal. That's what becomes of old coquettes today. Distressed when all their lovers fall away, they see no recourse but to play the prude and so confer a style on solitude. Thereafter, they're severe with everyone, condemning all our actions, pardoning none, and claiming to be pure, austere, and zealous, when, if the truth were known, they're merely jealous and cannot bear to see another know the pleasures time has forced them to forego.
That sort of talk is what you like to hear. And so you'd have us all keep still, my dear, while Madam rattles on the livelong day. Nevertheless, I mean to have my say. I tell you that you're blessed to have Tartuffe dwelling as my son's guest beneath this roof, that all he reprehends is reprehensible, and that you'd better heed him and be sensible. These visits, balls, and parties in which you revel are nothing but inventions of the devil, where reputations perish thick and fast, as a wise preacher said on Sunday last. Parties are towers of Babylon, because the guests all babble on without a pause. And then he told a story which I think... I heard that laugh, sir, and I saw that wink. Go, join your silly friends, laugh some more. I'm going. Don't show me to the door. I leave this household much dismayed and vexed. I cannot tell when you will see me next. Wake up. Don't stand there gaping into space. I'll slap some sense into that stupid face. Move, move, you slut.
Oh, I think I'll stay behind. I want no further pieces of her mind. Ow, that old lady.
Oh, what wouldn't she say? If she could hear you speak of her that way, she'd thank you for the lady, but I'm sure she'd find the old a little premature.
My, what a scene she made. And what a din. And how this man Tartuffe has taken her in.
Yes, but her son is even worse deceived. His folly must be seen to be believed. In the late troubles, he played an able part and served his king with wise and loyal heart, but he's quite lost his senses since he fell beneath Tartuffe's infatuating spell. He calls him brother and loves him as his life, preferring him to mother, child, or wife. In him and him alone will he confide. He's made him his confessor and his guide. He pets and pampers him with love more tender than any pretty mistress could engender, gives him the place of honor when they dine, delights to see him gorging like a swine, stuffs him with dainties till his guts distend, and when he belches, cries, God bless you, friend.
Oh, no.
In short, he's mad. Oh, he worships him, he dotes. His deeds he marvels at, his words he quotes, thinking each act a miracle, each word oracular as those that Moses heard. Tartuffe, much pleased to find so easy a victim, has in 100 ways beguiled and tricked him, milked him of money, and, with his permission, established here a sort of inquisition. Even Laurent, his lackey, dares to give us arrogant advice on how to live. He sermonizes us in thundering tones and confiscates our ribbons and colognes. Last week, he tore a kerchief into pieces because he found it pressed in a life of Jesus. He said it was a sin to juxtapose unholy vanities and holy prose.
You did well not to follow. She stood at the door and said verbatim what she said before. I saw my husband coming. I think I'd best go upstairs now and take a little rest.
Now, I'll wait and greet him here, then I must go. I've really only time to say hello.
Sound him about my sister's wedding, please. I think Tartuffe's against it, and that he's been urging Father to withdraw his blessing. As you well know, I'd find that most distressing. Unless my sister and Valère can marry, my hopes to wed his sister will miscarry, and I'm determined...
Oh, brother, good day. Well, welcome back. I'm sorry I can't stay. How is the country? Blooming, I trust, and green.
Excuse me, brother. Just one moment, Doreen. To put my mind at rest, I always learn the household news the moment I return. Has all been well these 2 days I've been gone? How are the family? What's been going on?
Your wife, 2 days ago, had a bad fever and a fierce headache which refused to leave her.
Ah, and Tartuffe.
Tartuffe? Why, he's round and red, bursting with health, and excellently fed.
Poor fellow.
That night, the mistress was unable to take a single bite at the dinner table. Her headache pain, she said, was simply hellish.
Ah, and Tartuffe.
He ate his meal with relish and zealously devoured in her presence a leg of mutton and a brace of pheasants.
Ah, poor fellow.
Well, the pains continued strong, and so she tossed and tossed the whole night long. And now icy cold, now burning like a flame. We sat beside her bed till the morning came.
Ah, and Tartuffe.
Why, having eaten, he rose and sought his room already in a doze, got into his warm bed and snored away in perfect peace until the break of day.
Oh, poor fellow.
After much ado, we talked her into dispatching someone for the doctor. He bled her and the fever quickly fell.
Ah, and Tartuffe.
He bore it very well. To keep his cheerfulness at any cost and make up for the blood Madame had lost, he drank at lunch 4 beakers full of port.
Poor fellow.
Both are doing well, in short. I'll go and tell Madame that you've expressed keen sympathy and anxious interest.
That girl was laughing in your face. And though I've no wish to offend you, even so I'm bound to say that she had some excuse. How can you possibly be such a goose? Are you so dazed by this man's hocus-pocus that all the world, save him, is out of focus? You've given him clothing, shelter, food, and care. Why must you also...
Brother, stop right there. You do not know the man of whom you speak.
I grant you that. But my judgment's not so weak that I can't tell by his effect on others.
When you meet him, you two will be like brothers. There's been no loftier soul since time began. He's an excellent man. To keep his precepts is to be reborn and view this dunghill of a world with scorn. Yes, thanks to him, I'm a changed man, indeed. Under his tutelage, my soul's been freed from earthly loves and every human tie. My mother, children, brother, and wife could die, and I'd not feel a single moment's pain.
That's a fine sentiment, brother, most humane.
Ah, had you seen Tartuffe as I first knew him, your heart, like mine, would have surrendered to him. He used to come into our church each day and humbly kneel nearby, start to pray. He'd draw the eyes of everybody there by the deep fervor of his heartfelt prayer. He'd sigh and weep, and sometimes, with a sound of rapture, he would bend and kiss the ground. And when I rose to go, he'd run before to offer me holy water at the door. His serving man, no less devout than he, informed me of his master's poverty. I gave him gifts, but in his humbleness, he'd beg me every time to give him less. Oh, that's too much, he'd cry. Too much by twice. I don't deserve it. The half, sir, would suffice. And when I wouldn't take it back, he'd share half of it with the poor. Right then and there. At length, heaven prompted me to take him in to dwell with us and free our souls from sin. He guides our lives, and to protect my honor, stays by my wife and keeps an eye upon her. He tells me whom she sees and all she does. Seems more jealous than I ever was. And how austere he is. Why, he can detect a mortal sin where you would least suspect. In smallest trifles, he's extremely strict. Last week, his conscience was severely pricked because while praying, he had caught a flea and killed it. So he felt too wrathfully.
Good God, man. Have you lost your common sense? Or is this all some joke at my expense? How can you stand there in all sobriety?
Brother, your language savors of impiety. Too much free thinking's made your faith unsteady, and as I've warned you many times already, 'twill get you into trouble before you're through.
So I've been told before, by dupes like you. Being blind, you'd have all others blind as well. The clear-eyed man you call an infidel, and he who sees through humbug and pretense is charged by you with want of reverence. Oh, spare me your warnings, brother. I have no fear of speaking out, for you in heaven to hear against affected zeal and pious knavery. There's true and false in piety, as in bravery. Cannot sincerity and cunning heart, reality and semblance be told apart? Are scarecrows just like men, and do you hold that a false coin is just as good as gold? Brother, man's a strangely fashioned creature, who seldom is content to follow nature, but recklessly pursues his inclination beyond the narrow bounds of moderation, and often by transgressing reason's laws perverts a lofty aim or noble cause. A passing observation, but it applies.
I see, dear brother, that you are profoundly wise. You harbor all the insight of the age. You are our one clear mind, our only sage, the era's oracle. It's Cato, too, and all mankind are fools compared to you.
I don't pretend to be a sage, nor have I all the wisdom of the age. There's just one insight I would dare to claim. I know that true and false are not the same. And just as there is nothing I more revere than a soul whose faith is steadfast and sincere, so there is nothing that I find more base than specious piety's dishonest face, than these bold mountebanks, these histrions, whose impious mummeries and hollow shows exploit our love of heaven, and make a jest of all that men think holiest and best. These calculating souls, who offer prayers not to their Maker, but as public wares, and seek to buy respect and reputation with lifted eyes and sighs of exultation. These charlatans, I say, whose pilgrim souls proceed by way of heaven toward earthly goals, who make their zeal the partner of their vice. Such men are vengeful, sly, and cold as ice. And when there is an enemy to defame, they cloak their spite in fair religion's name, until to mankind's reverent applause they crucify their foe in heaven's cause. Oh, such knaves are all too common. Yet, for the wise, true piety isn't hard to recognize. And happily these present times provide us with bright examples to instruct and guide us. Consider Ariston and Periandra. Look at Oronte, Alcidemas, Clitandre. Well, their virtue is acknowledged. Who could doubt it? But you won't hear them beat the drum about it. They're never ostentatious, never vain, and their religion's moderate and humane. These men I honor. These men I advocate as models for us all to emulate. Your man is not their sort at all, I fear. And while your praise of him is quite sincere, I think that you've been dreadfully deluded.
Now then, dear brother, is your speech concluded?
Why, yes.
Your servant, sir.
No, brother, wait, there's one more matter. You agreed of late that young Valère might have your daughter's hand.
I did.
And set the date, I understand.
Right so.
You've now postponed it, is that true?
No doubt.
The match no longer pleases you.
Who knows?
You mean to go back on your word?
I won't say that.
Has anything occurred which might entitle you to break your plan?
Perhaps.
Why must you hem and haw and hedge? The boy asked me to sound you in this affair.
It's been a pleasure.
But what shall I tell Valère?
Whatever you like.
What have you decided? What are your plans?
I plan, sir, to be guided by heaven's will.
Oh, come, brother, don't talk rot. You've given Valère your word. Will you keep it or not?
Good day.
This looks like poor Valère's undoing. I'll go and warn him that there's trouble brewing.